Saluton from BA. This is a Rorschach Multilateral update from the 4th of March 2025, a summary of what's going down in the world's major multilateral institutions. To begin this week, on Saturday the 1st, Elon Musk stirred concerns among European leaders after backing the idea of the US leaving both NATO and the UN. He voiced his support by reposting a statement from political commentator Gunther Eagleman, who called for the US to withdraw from both organizations. Musk also shared a post from Representative Thomas Massie, who dismissed NATO as outdated. His stance aligns with other Republican lawmakers, including Senator Mike Lee, who argued that NATO benefits Europe more than the US. Given Musk's influence in the Trump administration, his support could impact future US policy on NATO. Also on Saturday the 1st, Guinea-Bissau's president threatened to expel an Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, political mission sent to help mediate election plans, forcing the delegation to leave. The dispute centers on when the presidential term should end. Opposition leaders say it expired last week, while the Supreme Court ruled it lasts until the 4th of September. The president has set elections for the 30th of November, delaying the vote. His actions have raised concerns in a country with a history of coups. On Wednesday the 26th, he met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. On Friday the 28th, Qatar submitted a memorandum to the International Court of Justice asserting that Israel must allow UN and humanitarian agencies to operate freely within its borders and the occupied Palestinian territories. The document responds to a UN General Assembly resolution requesting a court advisory opinion on Israel's obligations. Qatar also emphasized protecting UN properties, medical facilities, and aid workers. This comes after Israel passed laws banning certain UN operations. Meanwhile, the country faces genocide allegations at multiple international courts. On another note, on Sunday the 1st, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer urged European leaders to take greater responsibility for their own security and fully support Ukraine, outlining a plan to end Russia's war. His remarks followed Donald Trump's recent criticism of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, which cast doubt on US support. Starmer's plan, backed by France and Ukraine, includes maintaining aid to Kyiv, pressuring Russia, ensuring Ukraine's role in negotiations, and continuing military support. He also proposed a coalition of those willing to defend Ukraine, though US backing remains uncertain. In South America, the Organization of American States trained over 300 officials from foreign ministries across the Americas in digital diplomacy during the week ending on Friday the 18th. The course, titled Digital Diplomacy: The Role of Emerging Technologies in Strengthening Democracy, focused on improving understanding of digital transformation, emerging technologies, and their role in democracy and regional negotiations. The training aims to equip officials with knowledge to better navigate the digital era in diplomacy. The Organization of American States regularly hosts workshops and training sessions aimed at strengthening democratic governance, human rights, and sustainable development across member states. These events take place throughout the year, providing opportunities for skill building, policy discussions, and regional collaboration. Noa Argamani, a former hostage held by Hamas, shared her harrowing experience with the UN Security Council on Tuesday the 25th, describing the torture and dire conditions she endured during her 8 months in captivity. She made a plea for the release of all hostages, emphasizing that they feel abandoned by the world. In more news from the United Nations, on Monday the 24th, the UN General Assembly passed 2 conflicting resolutions on ending the war, exposing divisions among allies. Ukraine's resolution, co-sponsored by European nations, reaffirmed its sovereignty, condemned Russian aggression, and called for accountability under international law. It passed with 93 votes in favor, 18 against, and 65 abstentions. Meanwhile, the US proposed a more neutral resolution that mourned all casualties but avoided blaming Russia. After EU-led amendments added stronger language, the US abstained on its own proposal and voted against Ukraine's. Later, the original US resolution passed in the Security Council without amendments, marking a diplomatic shift. The UN stressed that lasting peace must align with international law. Moving south, the African Union, or AU, and Somalia have reached an agreement on the troop numbers for the new AU mission in the country, following negotiations involving several countries. The mission will deploy almost 12,000 personnel, including soldiers, police, and civilian staff. On Monday the 3rd, Indonesia and Timor-Leste committed to improving their bilateral relations through stronger economic cooperation, border issue resolution, and support for Timor-Leste's Association of Southeast Asian States membership. Talks between the countries focused on advancing a bilateral investment treaty and fostering investments, with Indonesia remaining Timor-Leste's top trading partner. Both nations also aim to address border disputes constructively, promoting better connectivity for communities. Additionally, they agreed to refresh their joint ministerial commission to further expand cooperation across various sectors. On Thursday, the 27th, the president of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe defended Ukraine's President Zelensky for not holding elections during wartime, highlighting his legitimate election. She said it was unsafe and impractical to hold elections or for candidates to campaign during martial law. She responded to Trump's remarks, labeling Zelensky as a, quote, dictator, unquote, suggesting this could either be negotiation tactics or a troubling stance. The situation in Ukraine has become even more dire and controversial in recent days. President Trump and some of his allies have increased pressure on Ukraine to end the war, while Ukrainian leadership has turned to European allies to broker a deal. Back in Africa, the International Labour Organization, or ILO, intensified efforts to combat child labor in Nigeria's artisanal small-scale gold mining sector in Niger and Osun states. The ILO conducted workshops ending on Thursday the 27th, aimed at empowering stakeholders and community leaders to eliminate child labor. The workshops focused on strengthening monitoring and enforcement capabilities through community child labor monitoring committees, with the goal of implementing action plans to address child labor effectively. Nigeria has a severe child labor problem, with around 31% of children engaged in work, including hazardous sectors like mining, agriculture, and domestic servitude. Many work in dangerous conditions such as illegal lithium mines, where children as young as 6 are involved. Government and international efforts like the ILO's Africa Project aim to reduce child labor, but challenges persist due to poverty, lack of education, and weak law enforcement. On Monday, the 24th, the Director General of the International Organization for Migration highlighted the importance of strengthening global partnerships to address the worsening displacement crisis. At the 4th Riyadh International Humanitarian Forum, she emphasized the need for sustainable approaches combining humanitarian, development, and peace-building efforts. She stressed the shift from short-term funding to long-term financing for government-led solutions to displacement. Shifting gears, on Thursday the 27th, in the US, the Center for Disease Control, or CDC, barred its scientists from co-authoring research with staff from the World Health Organization, or WHO. A memo instructed CDC employees not to publish work with WHO-affiliated authors or on projects funded by the WHO. This move has sparked backlash, with critics calling it extreme and harmful to science. The policy follows an earlier directive cutting all CDC-WHO communication. For our last story this week, which also took place on Thursday, Kenya nominated Professor Phoebe Okowa to participate in the election to be a judge at the International Court of Justice. OCOA is recognized for her expertise and qualifications. Kenya has requested Djibouti as the coordinator for the Eastern African sub-region to circulate OCOA's nomination to other African nations for support. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. But don't worry, subscribing to the Rorschach Multilateral Update is absolutely free. By subscribing, you can help us grow and keep making the updates that you love. Listen to our updates on your favorite podcast platform. See you next week.